On Tuesday, President Donald Trump of the United States, U.S. apparently passed across two interesting messages during the press conference held at the White House with the visiting Israel Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, saying at first that Gaza is a symbol of death and destruction, where the people who have been living in the Gaza Strip were living in a miserable existence. Hence, once rebuilt, the people who have fought to keep the Gaza city shouldn't occupy the place again, calling on Egypt, Jordan and other countries of interest to build new domains or new settlements in the neighboring countries for the 1.8 million Palestinians that will be transferred out of Gaza. And by second statement, Trump said U.S. will take over the ownership of the land, rebuild and make Gaza an economic center for people from different parts of the world, including Palestinians, to occupy. President Donald Trump said that the U.S. would own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs in the area, and added that Gaza could be the Riviera of the Middle East. Also saying that the bonds of friendship and affection between the American and Israeli people have endured for generations, and they are absolutely unbreakable. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too, said President Donald Trump. Hundreds of protesters stood out on Tuesday in the U.S. to demonstrate against the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu's visit to the White House, but they were outraged to hear President Donald Trump talk of the U.S. owning Gaza and forcibly displacing Palestinians. Trump, calling the Gaza Strip a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades, and an unlucky place for a long time, said the area should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it, and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, the president called on countries of interest with humanitarian hearts to build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza. It will be recalled that last month, the Biden administration, with assistance from the Trump transition team, helped secure an ongoing ceasefire between Israel and Hamas that has involved the exchange of hostages and prisoners on both sides. Gazans began returning to the devastated territory in late January, hoping for a permanent ceasefire between Israel and Hamas, who renewed the war in October 2023 when Hamas fighters invaded southern Israel, killing thousands of persons and taking hundreds of Israeli residents and tourists hostage. Israel has since killed an estimated 47,000 people in Gaza in return. President Donald Trump had said that the only reason Palestinians want to return to Gaza is because they have no alternative. But on Tuesday, Trump said the U.S. will be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous, unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, leveling the destroyed buildings and creating economic development in the area. When asked who he envisions living in Gaza after it is rebuilt, Trump said, "The world's people, including Palestinians," stating that the U.S. will take ownership of the land.
I also strongly believe that the Gaza Strip, which has been a symbol of death and destruction for so many decades and so bad for the people anywhere near it, and especially those who live there, and frankly, who's been really very unlucky. It's been very unlucky. It's been an unlucky place for a long time. Being in its presence just has not been good, and it should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed, like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative. It's right now a demolition site. This is just a demolition site. Virtually every building is down. They're living under fallen concrete that's very dangerous and very precarious. They instead can occupy all of a beautiful area with homes and safety, and they can live out their lives in peace and harmony instead of having to go back and do it again. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for.
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there? Redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle, and it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Bibi?
I mentioned again tonight our three goals, and the third goal is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism, so many attacks against us, so many trials and so many tribulations. He has a different idea. And I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history. And it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
Bringing you the news in a more digital way.